Probably since I was about, let's say, 11. I discovered his records in my grandpa's record collection.
Everything became just, it's not a dream of me that to perform Elvis. Some the things happen naturally. And I started when I asked it to my mom to give me the black leather suit of '68 Special, and she gave me this gift, and I put it on, and they just make a surprise for me and put me on stage. I don't know that this is gonna happen, and everything started.
1957, when I was 7 years of age, I was born in Cork City in Ireland. We moved to a place called Mallow, and I saw my first Elvis Presley film there called Jailhouse Rock. And they wouldn't let me in first, but my mother persuaded them to get me in. From then on I was an Elvis fan, and my favourite Elvis record at that time was I Need You So. One of my favourites, Blueberry Hill, Young and Beautiful, and Jailhouse Rock. And then it rolled on from there.
I listened to Elvis when I was 5 years old. The first thing I saw him do was Don't Be Cruel. You know, I loved it. I had to see more of this man. I learned about the music, what he believed in, and it was amazing.
My brothers, they all had Elvis Presley records, and I just, at 6 years old, used to dance to his songs, and from then on, I was hooked.
For me, I listened to him a lot, you know, in the bedroom, you know, listening to the music and the words, and I just sang along with him until I kind of picked it up, and I never actually got the nerve to go out and do it in the public until, of course, after he passed away, and about 1989 is when I actually started performing live in front of an audience, you know. So, you know, it just got to get comfortable with it, you know. I mean, sing along with it, and there was a lot of other guys performing, and I was sitting out there watching. I just thought to myself, you know what? I believe I could do that too, you know. And so that's what I did, and I got a real good response from it, and I just enjoyed it.
I guess I was probably around 7 or 8. I got his first album. I always liked what he done, but the 70s done it all for me. 1970 and on.
All my life, as long as I can remember, I grew up watching movies and listening to the music. I have a lot of records, and like everyone else, he's plastered all over my house and places.
I've been a fan ever since I saw his very last concert back in 1977 when it was broadcast on television. And me being just a kid at the time, I was just blown away by his presence on stage, how the fans adored him, and definitely saw one unique individual, and I was a fan ever since. And it was too bad I got to know him after he died. That's how I really became a fan, and it's always been a childhood dream of me to do Elvis, and I just started doing Elvis about 2.5 years ago, and I really wish that I did it 15 years ago, because it's just I've been having the best time I've ever had.
How did I become a fan? Well, let's see, in 1956, I was 6 years old. Elvis Presley recorded with RCA Records his very first hit, Heartbreak Hotel. Later on that year, he recorded Hound Dog, and me and my cousins used to dance in the living room to Hound Dog and eat nothing but a hound dog. Ever since then, it's been Elvis all the way.
I'm a fan of Elvis ever since I was about 3 years old, since I could talk, since I could sing. As soon as I started singing, the first music I was singing was Elvis music.
Well, my grandparents grew up that era, and they always listened to Elvis channel on Sirius XM, so I grew up with the music basically. They played it all the time, so I just started singing it and grandma.
I guess just having an older brother and sister that played him constantly, and I just fell in love with him when I was 5.
I've been a fan since I was a kid, since I was probably 7 or so. I'm just fascinated by him, and when he did Aloha from Hawaii in '73, I mean, that was it. That album is what I wanted for my 16th birthday, you know? And it's all I wanted was this album, and I still got it.
Oh gosh, I've been an Elvis fan since I was a little boy. My mom raised me up right. She loved Elvis, and I think the first time that I ever heard Don't Be Cruel, I was hooked.
Ever since I can remember, my dad was a huge fan. Met him a couple times, so growing up, that's really all me and my brother listened to. Just a lot of Elvis.
My grandmother got me into Elvis, and I was raised around the older folk, 50s and 60s, and Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin and stuff, and I got hooked on Elvis Presley. My grandmother listened to him quite a bit.
We were at the drive-in. you're probably too young to remember drive-ins, but we were at the drive-in, and I was, like I say, about 7 years old. And you know, they always showed, like they do now, they showed previews before the movie. And my brother and I were sitting in the back seat, you know, eating popcorn or whatever, you know, because the movie hadn't started yet, and we were just previews on. Well, you know, in those days, you know, bikinis were a new thing, you know, and some people didn't approve of all that skin being shown or whatever. And evidently there was a preview for an Elvis Presley movie going on the screen, and of course I was paying no attention to it whatsoever. And my mother told my dad, she says, "Oh, that Elvis Presley, he's so nasty." And of course, 7-year-old kid hears nasty, he's like, "What?" And I said, "What? What are you talking about?" My mom just says, "Just sit back, nothing." But something was ingrained in my head that there was something about Elvis Presley that I had to know. You know, what is this thing about you know, Elvis Presley? So it was several years later. My folks had to go somewhere, and I was staying home to watch my little brother and sister. And it was the first time I was going to get a chance. There was an Elvis movie going to be on, and it was the first time would be my first chance to actually see one. And I thought, folks are going to be gone. I'm going to watch this bad movie, you know, and see what it is that's so bad about Elvis Presley. And of course, really loved it. You know, it's just most of his movies. You know, you look back on them now, and it's they were very tame. You know, compared. I mean, people were in bikinis and stuff, but it was just all very innocent. And then, of course, like I say, in '73, that was in the late '60s. And then in '73, when Aloha from Hawaii was on, that was it. I mean, you know, I was hooked.
In about 1957, saw him on TV after some show, and he did a little hound dog. And I said, "Mom, got to get in here and check it out," because I never saw anybody move like that. And that's about how it all happened.
When I was about 10 years old, I discovered Elvis. We were moving back from Dallas, Texas, and we actually came through Memphis, and I seen a big pink sign that had a picture of Elvis from like Jailhouse Rock or something. And then the next thing I remember is my dad turned the radio on, and it was Elvis, and I'd been hooked at it. You know, as soon as I got home that day to our new house, I started drawing pictures of Elvis. You know.
Well, I was about 6, and I heard the song Blue Suede Shoes, and it was on my dad's cassette tapes. And I put it in, and I thought that was the only song he ever did. And then I just started learning more about him, and as the years grew, I just grew to love Elvis more and more, and you know, and here I am today. So.
Ever since I was very, very little. My father played it ever since I was a baby, and I took to it at around 3 or 4 years old. I almost wore out his concert tapes and his records, just listening to it all the time. And it stayed with me as I grew up, and at 17 I decided to become an Elvis impersonator, and I'm 24 now.
I was 2 years old. My grandma sat me down in front of a TV and put in Follow That Dream, an Elvis movie. And I was mesmerized by it. I wouldn't stop, you know, for nothing, and I stopped for that. So it just snowballed from there, and I've been doing it ever since.
Well, I was a fan all my life. I watched his movies and, you know, watched his concerts on TV. But I guess I became a big, big fan when I started doing the Elvis, I guess about 7 years ago.
Oh, everything started when I was a little kid and listened to my father's records, and since then I couldn't stop to listen to Elvis almost every day in my life.
I was raised with Elvis music. My mother, when I was 16, the day he passed away, me and my mother and my twin brother all come to the gates.
I've been a fan since I can remember. My mom says when I was about 1 or 2, I just learned to walk. I used to shake my leg and pat the floor whenever she played his records.
Whole life. I think I grew up breathing him the moment I came into the world.
I've been a fan since I was about 5 years old, so I don't know if I should reveal my age, but it's a long time. Long time.
Holy Toledo. I think I became a fan when my mother took me to see him in 1973 at the Anaheim Convention Center.
To be honest with you, I was performing Elvis since I was 8 years old in gospel, and I just started growing with it.
Well, I was brought up in a household of 11 sisters, and after that, you know, you've got to become a fan. You've got no choice, really.